Welcome back to the Shankly Sessions, the Liverpool podcast we bring you each and every week on the Dynamo Podcast Network. Head over to YouTube, smash that subscribe and bell notification button. Audio versions of the show are available through Spotify. And if you'd like to contact the show, you'll get us on Twitter at Session Shankly, or you can contact us on the upper tier on Facebook or Instagram. Dino, getting spoiled this week. We have two matches. So we have our midweek match, the Merseyside Derby, coming from Goodison. 8 p.m. Wednesday evening. Initial thoughts?
Sorry, did you say it's coming from Goodison? It's more remnants of my dog's fucking food bowl is Goodison Park. Initial thoughts, Niall, are absolutely fantastic because when we won 4-0 on Saturday, I was like, I fucking hate when we have a good win and you have to win a week for a game. And then I realised we were playing Wednesday night and I was like, fucking yes. Yeah. Love them midweek games.
Yeah,
and it's always around me. It's always around my birthday when we play Everton. We always seem to give them a good hiding when we play them around my birthday. So I'll give me a prediction at the end, but I'm feeling really, really good. I just think I can just picture agent Rafa outside the Albert at about 10:30, 11 o'clock tomorrow night, piss drunk with a shirt open down to the last button, a toy around his head, and doing some sort of jig singing fucking the Rafa Benitez song.
Yeah, it's what did you make of Klopp's comments after the game where he was asked about up next is the derby and you kind of owed him one, and he kind of shied away from that, and he kind of played it down that it's nothing to do with obviously what happened last season, that this would be another game, professional, another job to do, another 3 points, and what's happened in the past has happened in the past. I can't see that being the case, can you?
Believe me, there'll be a small element of professionalism on Wednesday night, but believe you me, you know as well as I do, Jurgen Klopp has lit a fire underneath every one of those, especially Virgil van Dijk and Thiago. Thiago coming into a bit of form at the perfect time. Yeah. I see nothing but an absolute rout on Wednesday night. I have a feeling that poor out Rafa could be in for the bullet soon. And I think that we'll be really twisting the knife in on Wednesday night. But come here, Klopp's too clever for that shit, Niall. We've seen it a few times in the last few weeks. Questions, stupid questions. There was the African Cup of Nations questions, stuff like that. You know, he's not the type of person you ask silly questions to. You get these managers who will let the questions sink in and they come back with the answer that they know the papers want to print and all. Mm. You don't ask stupid questions to Jurgen Klopp. As simple as that. I think we all know, any Liverpool fan who thinks that there's no plot and revenge for Wednesday night is going to be a bit silly, because that really put us, like the way we finished last season, I believe we would have won the league last year had we not lost Virgil van Dijk, because it was just triggered the events that unfolded. And lucky enough, we came good towards the second half of the season. We were the form team coming towards the end of the season. We were best team in the league coming towards the end of the season. But that Everton game, like I've watched Everton on Match of the Day for the last 5 or 6 weeks. I think they've 5 defeats and 5 defeats and a win, or 5 defeats and a draw in the last.
The last 5 games is 4 losses and a draw.
You know, there's no great shape. I know we always talk about the derby comes around and form goes out the window, but the way we're playing, I'd be very, very surprised. I'd be very surprised if we even concede to them, Niall. I just have a feeling that it's going to be an absolute rout.
Yeah, I suppose the problem for the derby games, and it's something that we have to be careful of, because we seen it with the Brighton game and we seen it with the Brentford game, and we mentioned it on the preview for the Southampton game as well, that sometimes you can get dragged down into these teams' game, and Everton are the kings of that in terms of dragging you down into their dirty physical way of playing. Yeah. And what happens is, before you know it, 60 minutes has gone by in a match, nothing has happened, and you've picked up a couple of injuries, and you don't even realise it's unfolding in front of you, and then they might get a late goal or something like that. So I know the man beside me there, Virgil van Dijk, he'll want to put out a statement, especially in this game. I mean, this game last season cost him his season, basically. He's lost a year.
Cost him a year of his career.
And Thiago, somewhat the same, but didn't lose as much time, but still lost a fair portion of time. So those two boys will be out to prove a point in terms of the level that they operate at and their gameplay and everything else. Not in terms of revenge in a dirty type of way or anything like that, but they'll want to go out there and absolutely light these guys up on Wednesday night. And I know Jurgen obviously was playing it down, but I mean, you can't dismiss the fact that if you've lost a year of your career due to an injury like that and stuff like that, and an injury that at the time we didn't even know would be successful in terms of coming back, could have ended his career.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think normally you would say form goes out the window for these derbies, but I think with Liverpool, just like the Southampton game again, we just have to be right at it. Don't get dragged down like what happened with us with Brentford and what happened with us with Brighton. Play our game levels above these guys. We are absolute levels above these guys without a shadow of a doubt. I seen the fans the other night, the Everton fans the other yesterday, I think it was, and they were booing the players. They were going in on Benitez. They're absolutely irate at the moment, and they're in a really bad position. And of course, as the red side of Merseyside, we just like to add to that bit of a
we thrive under that. But I just thinking, when we were coming back after the Brighton game, we got into the taxi that morning. It turned out he was a blue nose, rambling on a bit, and we were talking about what do you make of Rafa and what do you think of Ancelotti and how that panned out and stuff like that. And he seemed genuine enough, you know what I mean? He went along with the whole, look, I'll take Rafa. Like, at the end of the day, Rafa Benitez, you know, he's on that pedestal, like, as he's one of the top managers in Europe. What he did for the city, you know, you're obviously going to have that element of Everton fans that will just never ever accept him as manager and all. But one thing I will say about we are talking about Everton dragging us down to their level. You know how last season went. You hear the stories of how they celebrated in Anfield after they beat us for the first time since probably before I was born at Anfield, stuff like that. You know, the level of expectations. This isn't Man United you're talking about, like where with Ferguson leaving, that David Moyes walks in and you're going to stay at that level of success. You're going to be winning Champions Leagues and Premier Leagues. Everton fans, I seen a meme yesterday. I don't know whether it was in Air WhatsApp or seen a video on Air WhatsApp group. The new Everton stadium, and in the background is you're just beyond them and you're a disgrace and all, and blah blah and stuff like that. I just don't understand the Everton fans' point of view, because they aren't successful. They will never be successful. They have no money. They've no money. Like, they've bought, new owners have come in. They've no money. They've not won a trophy since 1995. I break into that song, but I'm a bit under the weather at the moment. But this is what I'm saying. You're talking about how much they're booing the players and stuff like that. Everton have the basis, the basis of a decent team there. You know, I know they're missing a few players, but they've got the base of a decent team there. Something's just not gelling. I don't put it down to they're missing Yerry Mina and they're missing Dominic Calvert-Lewin, because, you know, I think Dominic Calvert-Lewin's a bit overrated. You know, that's just my personal opinion. Yerry Mina, I don't see what the big hoorah about him is. You know, if he was that good, he'd still be at Barcelona. Like, let's be real. But the way you understand, like, you've lost 5 or 4 games and you've 4 draws or 4 losses and a draw in the last 5 games. Obviously, the fans are going to be a bit, you know, you're going to be anxious, you're going to be paranoid, you're going to be worried. Where's this season going? You know, but there's the level expectation of Everton fans with having no money, and it's kind of just a steady flow every year. It's kind of just hovering around them 4 or 5 teams outside the top 4 if they're lucky. But the way they're going about things, the way they're approaching it, this is, if we give them a good hiding on Wednesday night, this is soon going to turn into a mess for them. If Rafa Benitez decides to walk and thinks that he's not good enough, or, you know, stuff like that, or he gets sacked, they really need to start worrying about the next 4, 5, 6 years at Everton Football Club, because who out there in their right mind is going to go to Everton and think that they can take them to another level? Because I just don't see it myself.
Well, it's not so much take them to another level, I would say, because, I mean, they tend to operate. I mean, they tend to operate at a decent level, let's say, right? It's, you know, I mean, they don't generally, it's been a while since they've been dragged into relegation stuff and things like that. They've always operated slightly better. And I just think, as you said, they do have the basis there of a reasonable spine in the team. I mean, you've got your man Keenan there, who I think is a very, very good player. The boy Dinya, who I think is a very, very good player.
James Coleman, workhorse.
Yeah. And
Your
then,
man Alan.
yeah, and then the Corey's in there, and Damari Gray, who's gone in there, and who went in there and actually started out with a really good season, came in, was getting a few goals and stuff like that. Richarlison, I think, although he works really, really hard for them, he kind of flatters to deceive. I don't think he really delivers on what the expectation is, even at that level. I don't think he gets enough goals. I think the odd time he pops up with one or two really good goals, and it kind of keeps it there. Iwobi, we all know the story with Iwobi. I mean, you're lucky if you get a goal a month out of him. You know what I mean? Townsend has gone in there. I think he has done well for them. I think he's a decent, honest player and stuff like that. The boy Godfrey, I think, is a decent player. I think Pickford has shown much better form than what he was shown. I think he's improved a lot. So there is the kind of a spine of a team there. But as you said, you know, they're missing Gomez, they're missing Calvert-Lewin. Holgate is a big player for them. Tom Davis and Yerry Mina. They are big names that they're missing, and they don't have that luxury of, you know, a huge squad. So when they do miss a number of players, I mean, at the end of the day, Calvert-Lewin is the boy who gets the goals for them. And the one thing that you've noticed in the last 6 or 8 weeks with them, they can't buy a goal. They just cannot get a goal.
Do not mention your man that's playing up front for them that used to play for Newcastle. Just don't mention and the goal drought. Just say nothing, because we know what will happen. So we'll just skip on from that part.
But yeah, I don't know. It's Rafa going in there for me was a very weird one. Anyway, regardless, and I think what happened was, I think they were on a decent trajectory with Ancelotti. He was going to put some stuff in there that would have worked well for them, but he got out of town there really, really quick and sort of dropped them on their ass. And you know, there's talk, obviously, I mean, the project for the new stadium and stuff like that, and that looks fantastic, in fairness to them, down at the waterfront. But I just think it's a weird one to call with this one, because, you know, they do have players there that could do something, but I mean, they haven't shown up, at least in the last 6 to 7 weeks.
Yeah.
And I can see the frustration of their fan base as well, because, you know, they're losing to Brentford. They're losing to teams that they at least should be competitive with, if not beaten. I mean, Everton should beat Brentford. There's no doubt about that, in terms of the quality of the talent that they have and stuff like that. But they just don't seem to be playing at all. And I think it's a real good time for us to go play them now. You know, albeit now, sometimes we talk like this on previews and stuff like that, and then you end up with a Brentford 3-3. But it's just, you know yourself, if we've any aspirations this year of staying in a title race and being up there and potentially winning the league this year, these are the games we have to win, in the same vein as we did the Southampton game and previous games. And I just think we're so better. We're so much better than them. Every single man. There's not a single man on the Everton side that gets even near our bench, near alone our squad or anything else. Every player is so much better. And I just think it's a real opportunity to go out there and make a statement, because most teams would be looking at this fixture as potentially one where we could potentially drop points. But I just don't think this time. And I think if you look at the last 5 derbies have been quite tight. Everton have 1 win and 2 draws and 2 losses. And of course, we've 2 wins, a draw and a loss. So they have been tight enough. But I just think they're in a really bad place at the moment. I think Rafa's kind of all over the shop. Normally going in there, if they were playing reasonably well and at a certain standard, I'd have a slight concern, because Rafa's in there, because we know how good Rafa is at organising his teams and stuff like that. And it could be a difficult night for us. But I just think there's a lot of players there at the moment that aren't performing. The boy Dinya isn't performing at all, and a lot of stuff goes through him. I think Darren is right when he talks about Seamus Coleman. He talks about Seamus Coleman gradually coming to the end of his career. Yeah. And that in another, say, 6 to 12 months, that may not be his place. They'll have to go out and find a replacement for him. The boy Kane is struggling in defence as well. Normally he's very, very solid, but he's been found wanting in the last 5 or 6 weeks. Gray has kind of, Damari Gray has kind of, closed up a little bit. There's not so much happening for him. I think in the previous game, it was a Wobie who scored. And I mean, if you're waiting on a Wobie to score, you may forget about it. And Richarlison comes back into the side now. And I just think with Richarlison, I mean, he can be dangerous on his day, but he just flatters to deceive all the time. He's just, and there was talk, wasn't there? Wasn't there originally talk him potentially going to Barcelona? Was it, or PSG when we looked at it in the summer?
Richarlison going to Barcelona would be one of those outrageous moves that Barcelona seem to normally do before all of this stuff that happened, where they go out and spend ridiculous money on someone who's absolutely shit, hoping that all of a sudden he's going to turn into a Messi, a Ronaldo, a Neymar, and Mbappe, and he's going to win them a Premier or a La Liga and a Champions League and do all these wonderful things. But Richarlison is not consistent enough. I just want to go back to what we were talking about, the whole, there's no one player. It's a show like this where I'd love to sit down with an actual football and brain Everton fan and have a debate and try and twist my arm that you'd fit one Everton player into a combined 11. And that's no, I was going to say that's no disrespect to Everton, but I have no respect for Everton because I absolutely despise them on the same level that I despise Man United. But there's not one player in that Everton team, even with the likes of Owen Beck and Tyler Morton and James Balzaglia and stuff like that, young lads coming through. I honestly couldn't sit here and Seamus Coleman 3 or 4 years ago, when you got that proper shift out of him, he's a fucking, we've seen in an Ireland jersey many a time, he's just grit, determination. He's kind of like Jordan Henderson, real captain's energy about him. But like you said, he's coming towards the end of his, that injury he got didn't help him out. He's coming towards the end of his days. Unfortunately for as an Ireland fan, it's sad to see him coming towards the end of it because he's been one of our heroes in a green jersey. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. He leaves it all on the pitch. But I go back to what I said. I just see major trouble ahead for Everton because I don't think Rafa's the man for the job. I thought he'd come in and kind of settle things down. If they get a good hiding off us on Wednesday night and then they were to go out the weekend and lose, the teams below them, Everton could be in a dogfight around the Christmas time. Norwich are playing Newcastle this week. That's a 6-pointer at the end of the day. But, Everton are just lingering above that. And if results go against them in the next few weeks, over the Christmas period with the players that are missing, and if Rafa was to go, and I can see it happening, and it's not far-fetched, if Rafa was to go, you're going to start hearing stories of, has he lost the dressing room? And realistically, chances are he probably will have, because there's a lot of egos in there. And we just mentioned probably the biggest one, Richarlison, the Brazilian superstar. I say superstar because, when he goes off and he wears a Brazil jersey, he seems to put in a decent shift, but he's just not consistent enough in an Everton jersey. And the worry for Richarlison is when he's not playing well, he seems to be a bit reckless, i.e. that tackle on Thiago. That could have been a career ender. We've seen the way Thiago's leg bent back, but he's no composure. There's no calmness. If things aren't going well, he's just reckless. And you're looking at that, other than probably Seamus Coleman, probably Alan. You look at that Everton team as it is right now, there's not many leaders in there and people that can go in on Wednesday night and say, right, lads, this is the biggest game of the season for us so far. We've got to get a result. We got to stay calm. We got to stay composed. I know Rafa is great at doing that, but the way Liverpool are playing, the way Everton are playing, I'd be very, very surprised if this is anything but like a good Liverpool plus 3 or 4.
Yeah, I looked at this fixture and I always think, just go in, get the 3 points and come out hopefully with no injuries. And that to me is a great night, you know what I mean? This is one of those derbies. Like, I don't look forward to this. I don't look forward to this one at all because I know it has the opportunity to boil over and get petulant and dirty and and look, we're the physical side. We don't mind getting physical, but there's a difference between physical and GBH. There's just, it's just a total difference. Let's run down through the injuries at the moment anyway. For Everton, they're missing Gomez, Calvert-Lewin, Holgate, Tom Davis and Yerry Mina. For Liverpool, obviously the boy Curtis is still nursing the eye. Naby Keita I'm not sure. I haven't heard an update on him. There was talk he might be
No.
available for Southampton, but I still don't think he's available. Bobby is obviously still out. Joe Gomez and Harvey's on the way back, obviously, but still out at the moment. Still great to see him in his recovery at the moment. But that list there for Everton, they're big names for Everton. You know what I mean? That's their equivalent of like Virgil van Dijk and Mo Salah. Missing,
those five players start every week for Everton when they're fit. Like they're 5 players that will be in the starting 11 every single week. Whereas Liverpool are fortunate enough that, I don't want to put the mockers on it, but you're looking at the list of injuries we have, and like there's some big names there. But then you're looking at how we've performed the last 3 games, 2 league games and the Champions League game, and you're like, are you even worried when you're missing players? Because we got the 2 bad results out of the way. Now I know it's only 3 games, and the Brighton performance wasn't good enough second half. The West Ham game, we just didn't turn up at all, in my opinion. But you're looking at Curtis Jones, hot and cold, still only a kid, he's got a lot of learning to do. Naby had a run of a few games where he was playing really, really well, then, kicks a blade of grass and tears his hamstring. Bobby, everyone knows my opinion on Bobby. Joe Gomez, I think even if he's fit, he's not going to really get into the team. I think, to be honest, I can see him leaving in January on loan, probably to Villa. Gerrard has come out and he's apparently trying to lure him away. And then Harvey Elliott, he's on the way to superstardom if he comes back and he's nurtured the right way. But for Everton, like that's 5 players. Like, I love Andre Gomez. I think he's a smashing player in the middle of the park. Absolutely outstanding. The way he came back from that broken leg as well. Mason Holgate, that homegrown, he knows what a Merseyside derby's all about. We've seen he's not afraid of the big occasion. And then Yerry Mina, he seems to be that man in the defence that can pop up with a goal every now and then. Tom Davis, Calvert-Lewin, like that's 5 players that start every week for Everton when they're fit. So they're huge losses.
Yeah, and especially at a time where they don't have a massive squad. You know what I mean? So although they're fielding that 11 there, we'll go through predicted lineups now in a minute. But that 11 there is nearly as good as they get, but they're missing a bit of bite in the midfield. But I still say, after the 11 that we're going to go through, some of those boys just aren't showing up at the moment, whether it be confidence, whether it be setup, whether it's tactical, whether it's something to do with Rafa, whatever it is. But there's lads there at the moment that you would normally put down for a 7 or an 8 out of 10 on a weekly basis that are playing like a 4 and a 5. And certainly Keane and Digne are 2 that they heavily rely on.
Yeah.
Let's go through the predicted lineups then for Everton. Pickford, Coleman, Godfrey, Keane, Digne, Townsend, Allen, Doucouré, Damari Gray, Iwobi, and Richarlison. Now, on another day, I mean, if you're putting them up against a Brentford or a Norwich or a Burnley or one of those teams,
you're expecting a win.
It's a decent side. It's a decent side. There's creativity in there. The thing that they're lacking is goals, as in, like a Calvert-Lewin, a real out-and-out goal scorer. They're missing that. As I said, Richarlison pops up every so often. Iwobi, we know the story. They've been heavily reliant on Damari Gray, who came in and lit it up a little bit at the start of the season, but has faded away. And we knew he wouldn't be able to maintain the level he was performing at anyway. Then if you go through the Liverpool side, then Alisson, Trent, Matip, Van Dijk, Robertson, Henderson, Fabinho, Thiago, Salah, Jota, and Mane. The only change being Konate. What you're thinking on that? You think Matip will go in there?
Yeah, definitely. You have to have. This is nothing against we spoke about with Konate. I'm more than happy for Konate to be bled into the team the way he is. Start a couple of games, sit back, relax, take on board what's going on in the pitch. He's going to be an absolute superstar at the back for Liverpool, I think. But there are those little moments where, he's not switched on. Just that little lapse in concentration, or he makes the wrong move. He goes left instead of going right. He goes right instead of going left. He's going to be an absolute superstar. But just think, a game like tomorrow night, the 2 boys, everyone talks about how good Virgil van Dijk is, rightly so. Joel Matip, for me, He reminds me of Steve Finnan. It's just that underrated, under the radar. Let Virgil do all the work. I know how good John Matip is. He's an absolute. I love John Matip. He's one of the best defensive boys Liverpool have made in the last 30 years, in my opinion. He's outstanding. It's just calmness personified. He's everything he does is just at ease, and he's so dangerous. The game there, Porto, was it? And he got the ball just outside the Liverpool box, and we talked about this before. He takes 2 of these long strides, and before you know, he's outside their box, plays in the little ball, and I think Mo scored, but he was offside. But he reads the game so well. Best thing that ever happened with Liverpool and John Matip was he retired from international football when he was about 20. I know he's got a few injury issues every now and then, but when he's on his game, he's absolutely outstanding.
And having a very good season this season.
Extremely good season. I want to touch on the middle of the park though. Little stat. Thiago and Fabinho have played 13 games together so far. Played 13, won 12, drew 1, lost none. Goals scored 35, goals conceded 5. The only blot was the 2-2 draw at Goodison when Thiago and Virgil were kicked off the pitch. They would want to put that right on Wednesday night. We talked about Thiago during the summer. We've talked about him since the season started. He's doing. He plays.
That drag goal on Saturday was just filthy, wasn't it? I know it got a deflection, but I think it was going far corner anyway. But it was.
What time is this? What time is this going out? Is this going out in the morning before the watershed? Because I'll tell you what I did when he done that step over.
There's no watershed on YouTube, my friend.
Yeah, that was just, and the same with the goal against Porto. I think only Thiago could do that, but that step over against Southampton, under that kind of pressure, just outside the box, and then to welly it with his bad foot, which was going straight into the top corner as well. But yeah, frightening times for Everton.
I say it all the time. I smile from ear to ear when goals come from outside of the front three. I smile from ear to ear because that's what I believe is a real championship side.
We've talked about a lot this year. Goals coming from outside the front four. Other than Jamie Vardy, the top 4 goal scorers in the Premier League is Mo Salah, Sadio Mane, Jota, and Jamie Vardy. Assists, Mo Salah top of the assists, but I think we scored 39 goals this season. And I think both the midfield and the defence have chipped in with 7, 14, 25. Between the defence and the midfield, I think there's 14 goals come from outside the attack. So we talked about other players needing to pick up the slack, and I think that's it's great to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's have a quick chat about obviously Fabinho. I don't think we talk about him enough. I think he's
best midfielder Liverpool have ever had, and people will probably give me a clatter in the face for saying that. He's on the way to being on the level with Steven Gerrard. He's so underrated. If he was wearing a Barcelona shirt, a Real Madrid shirt, a PSG shirt, a Man City shirt, probably a Man United shirt, this fella would be lauded as the general. He's fucking outstanding. Everything he does. We screamed at the TV last season saying, play Thiago or play for me Fabinho in the middle of the park. And when Klopp finally watched an upper or a Shankly session and realised what the boys were saying, and he stuck him in the middle of the park, everything started to go well again.
Absolutely, yeah. I just wanted to bring him up because I know we don't always talk about him, because I think he's one of those players in the team that we don't always pick up on some of the work he does even off the ball, and sometimes we take him a little bit for granted. But I thought against Southampton the other day he was absolutely exceptional. And that's not unusual. I mean, he's an 8 or a 9 out of 10 every week.
Ian, I don't know whether Ian will watch this or not. And I know you rate Jorginho highly, but I think I'd have Fabinho over Jorginho every day of the week. I know it's 2 different roles, but if you have to pick a midfield 3 and you're down to that last player and it's Jorginho or Fabinho, and you can rotate the middle of the park to you can sit Fabinho where you need him to. For me, every day of the week, there's talk of, I don't know, has the Ballon d'Or been announced yet?
It's on tonight at I think starts at I think 7:30 or something like that and finishes at 9.
If he is a decent player, Jorginho. Kante is, probably the best midfielder in the world. But why is Fabinho not being talked about on the same level as these two guys? Because for me, he's as good.
Well, I suppose if you go back and you look at the year that we had, I mean, it's one thing putting someone into the conversation though, but it's another thing looking at someone's medals hanging around their neck. And I think that's the difference. But can you imagine if you had a midfielder, Fabinho, Jorginho and Kante, or Fabinho, Jorginho and Thiago? Imagine that midfield.
You may give up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know, in fairness to Ian, we do talk highly about Jorginho, and rightly so. And I know some of the lads make a joke about it. All joking aside, and like Ian holds Fabinho in very high regard. He thinks he's top notch. Like, in terms of the front three, no reason to change it or anything like that. You don't see Origi coming in, or
this goes back to the start of our chat and about professionalism or plotting that revenge. There's nothing. There's not going to be any. I'm going to say there's not going to be any surprise in the starting 11 on Wednesday night. If there is, I would be extremely, extremely, extremely surprised if the front three is anything other than Mo, Sadio and Diogo. We just talk about what a signing Diogo Jota's been for Liverpool, please, just for 30 seconds. 20 goals in 46 games. Out for 3 months with injury. This fella is on the he's on the way to being another great Liverpool striker. He's absolutely outstanding. And how shocked were we when that transfer was made, because we knew nothing of it. It just happened, the click of a fingers. Diogo Jota came in the same weekend that we got Thiago. It was a pleasant weekend, may I add. But the boys come in. Bobby's kind of stepped up as well. He's got his few goals. Obviously, he's got a bad injury now as well. But Diogo's come in and he's put that fire into the other three, as if to say, like, I'm not here to sit on the bench. Whenever I'm given a chance, I'm going to come in and do the job. That's why I fucked Mason Mount out of my fancy football team and brought in Diogo Jota this week.
But there's I suppose when you look at the front three as well, with Jota, there's a kind of an intensity to him, isn't there? Because he never seems like, with Mo Salah always plays with a smile on his face, and so does Mane. But you know that they're in the game and they're intense, and there's an intent there, even though the smile hides the level at which they perform at. With Jota, he only kind of smiles when he scores or when he gets an assist or something like that, or when the team scores. But when you see him there, he's laser focused at hunting people down and stuff like that. And I think the three boys, the way they're operating, I don't know if you looked at the Southampton game, but they just took it in turns, that high press all the time, and they just tortured Southampton. And even Hasenhüttl came out after the game and he said, we just couldn't live with them. We just got it wrong right from the start. And he wasn't surprised at all that after 2 minutes they were a goal down. I think Jota's been an exceptional signing without a shadow of a doubt. And he brings just a different intensity. He brings it's a bit like Costas, isn't he? There's a kind of a nastiness to him. Yeah. Not a dirty player, but a nastiness in terms of he wants to get stuck in and he looks forward to the battle. And I just think, I wasn't calling for a change at all, but we know our boy Origi does like a goal against Everton.
We know it wouldn't be the first time that Jurgens came out for a derby and threw a few spanners in the works, and you're like, hey, what's going on here? But just, I want to touch on the thing with Jota, what you're talking about there, the intensity. How long may that continue? Because I love the fact that he came in. I didn't expect him to be signing for Liverpool. I don't think many people did. When that happened, it was very, very much a surprise. He's came in, and you could see against Southampton, he could have scored 5. He should have scored a hat trick. He definitely should have got a hat trick, but he could have scored 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Well, for me, he knows there's a massive opportunity here with Bobby being out injured. He knows how good Sadio is. He knows that how good Mo is, and that's the two bankers in the starting 11 up front. And I've said this a lot of times. It seems to be it's Bobby or Diogo. he knows now that he can make a statement and keep scoring goals that when Bobby comes back, where Jurgen will say, can I afford to drop him? This guy is banging in numbers the same as Mo, the same as Sadio. Can I afford to drop him? Or do you stop that momentum? Because I said it last week. If a player's banging in goals week in, week out, and the minutes per, or the goals per game ratio that Diogo has, you just don't stop that momentum. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, but I suppose with the games coming thick and fast, because we've another game then at the weekend and stuff like that. And I think what happens is if you do change it up slightly, you keep lads fresh and hungry as well. You know what I mean? So, but I just think with him as well. Like, I mean, we know how competitive he was going to be, because I mean, he literally left Wolves, where he was the first name on the team sheet every week, to go to Liverpool, where there was no guarantee of game time at all. There was no guarantee he'd break into that front three at all. And he's worked his way in through hard work and graft and also patience.
Look at the demise of Wolves. Now I know they're doing all right now. They've kind of found they found their feet now, and they're kind of steadily climbing the table. They're doing all right. But look at the fall off with Wolves. Look, Adama Traore just not at it at all. Jimenez obviously had that nasty injury. You know, he's kind of getting back to it, which is great to see. But look at the lack of intensity that Wolves have in their attack now, as to look what we have added to our attack now. It's clear as it's day and night. You can see what we've added to the team, but you can see what they've lost. And we touched on that during the summer with Jimenez, obviously with the head injury, but not having Jota there to kind of play off him, because their front three, like, I feared playing Wolves last season. I feared playing Wolves the season before, because you didn't know what you were going to get. They were a well-oiled, drilled machine, you know. But just like the way Jota's going, like, it's. I'm thinking 20-odd goals this season in all competitions. You know, the Wolves game on Saturday, we're talking about resting players. I think that the only changes that will come in will probably be for the Champions League game against AC Milan next week. I know it would be nice to win the 6-6, but you know, I think Jurgen will see how we kind of stepped off the gas against Brighton in the second half, and how we didn't really hit the high notes against West Ham. But we need to get the 6 points in the league. You look at City dropping points in the Champions League. You look at Chelsea dropping points in the Champions League. You're thinking, I wish they could drop the points in the league. We can't afford to drop any more points in the league now, because this is where we come into our own. The game's every 3 or 4 days, so stick with the starting 11 tomorrow night or on Wednesday night. If there's no injuries, same thing again on Saturday, and then rest all the boys against AC Milan. I'll take a defeat against AC Milan. I know no Liverpool fan really says that, but if we get 6 points out of our next 2 league games and lose to AC Milan, I'm more than happy with that.
Yeah, the AC Milan game, you know, although you want to keep winning, you want to keep winning as a habit going and stuff like that. But I just think it's a kind of a throwaway game. It's a free pass, really, and an opportunity maybe to look at a different formation and look at different players and stuff like that. You know, the likes of Tyler and all could go in there. Great experience for those boys going to the San Siro. But I suppose with the romance of the San Siro and the history and all, you know, the likes of Salah and lads like that, they're going to want to play, because I think this is the last year, isn't it?
Knocked down, it's been knocked down as well. So, yeah. Well, don't be surprised then to see Minamino and Origi starting on Saturday then.
Who knows? I just think if I'm Rafa Benitez and I'm sitting at home tonight and I'm going through it trying to figure out, I'm kind of thinking Salah, Jota and Mane nailed on, especially after the performance on Saturday. But I just wonder, we know what Jurgen's like. I wouldn't be surprised if Origi popped up there in the middle. And that's no disrespect to Jota at all. But I just think, I know the way Jurgen thinks and the way he likes to change things occasionally. And especially when he thinks that, you know, Origi put himself about in that back line as well. You know, he tortured the likes of Kane and Godfrey and stuff like that. He gave them a hard time, you know.
Jurgen's sitting in his conservatory now, just thinking, I wonder are the boys at the upper tier Shankly sessions doing a preview of the game. Sparks up a cigarette, pours a glass of red wine or a pint of beer, and he's like, these guys think that I'm just going to go with Diogo, Mo and Sadio. Fuck this, I'm going to stick in Divock.
Yeah, it could. I'm telling you, it could easily happen. Let's get on then. Give us your prediction.
Right. When you sent me the picture of the layout for the Open, your prediction was at the end of it, right? And I was thinking,
I'm going to have to stop giving you that as well. I'm going to hold back on them from now on.
Yeah. I'm not being far-fetched, but this just been in my mind. I was going to say 5-2, but then I realised we gave him a hiding 5-2 at Anfield the last time he threw in Divock Origi and Shaqiri and all. I'm thinking 6-1.
6-1. Jesus. God, you get a few bob in the bookies for that. If we do a midweek beat the bookie for charity, 6-1. You're expecting us to concede against a team that can't find a goal, yeah?
Yeah, I just think we'll all get caught up in the moment of scoring 6, and it's just
Jeez, that's a big call. 6-1. I'll take it. I'll take it. Here's one for you then. If you're gonna put that out there, where are the goals coming from?
Hat-trick for Mount, a hat-trick for Diogo, because I have bought them my fancy football team.
And who gets the one for Everton?
It's a bit much.
Has to be an OG, does it?
Virgil just turns and just wellies one into the top corner and just goes celebrating like a lunatic. No, I've just been thinking it's just going to be a hiding all day. All day I've just have a feeling we're going to give them a right out pounding. You know,
if it ends up being 6-1, Rafa goes, doesn't he? Good Lord. 100%.
Jeez. He'd be a scored out of the ground by security. But I don't know. I looked at the way
he can come back with us on our bus. He'd be safer.
He'd be fucking driving the thing. No, I'm just going off here last three games and how they've been really, really underperforming. I just can't see anybody in that team that's going to turn it around overnight in a big game like this. The fans are obviously going to be up for a Merseyside derby, but at the same time, if we score early, the fans are going to really turn on them, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, my prediction is 3-0. I'm going for a clean sheet, but I'm going for 3 different goal scorers. I'm going for Thiago to get one. I'm going for Joel Matip and Salah back on the scoring sheet. That's what I'm going for.
Yeah, I was only thinking that.
And if Origi starts, then I'm swapping Origi.
Yeah, I was only looking at Mo, like the goals per game, the top assists, top goal scorer in the Premier League. It's hard to believe people out there still don't really put this guy on the same level as Lewandowski and Haaland and Mbappe.
No one does that anymore. They've all bought into him. Everyone knows he's world class and he's the best player on the planet.
And people touched on the whole this hatred that Sadio and Mo have. Did you see them celebrating last week? They were like two best friends.
It's not there anymore.
We talked about during the summer and at the start of the season about if Liverpool are to be successful this year, we need that togetherness in the team again. And everybody seems to be as one, as a unit now. So long may it continue and bring on the Blue Noses.
Yeah. If you want to know about the love in the squad, have a look at Thiago's reaction when he was asked about going back to Barcelona. That'll tell you how much these guys are loving each other at the moment.
I don't know whether you picked up on it or not when he was coming off the other day for Ox and he goes over to Henderson, he high five and hugged and then when he lets go of Ox and he's walking towards Klopp and he looks up at him as you'd say, like, how naughty was that goal, boss?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listen, until next time, this has been your Shankly Sessions preview. Goodison, Wednesday night, 8 p.m, Everton versus Liverpool, the first of 2 Merseyside derbies this season, without a shadow of a doubt. We definitely owe them one, and the big man definitely owes them one. And Jurgen may play it down, but we ain't going to play it down, and neither is the team. Dino's expecting a massive rout. I'm expecting a 3-0, and we will see you for the match reaction Wednesday evening. Cheers, bud.
Take it easy, my man.